Have you ever woken up at 2 in the morning with your calf muscle locked in a vice grip, the pain so intense you couldn't even cry out, your foot twisted in an unnatural angle, your entire leg rigid as stone, and you're lying there in the darkness wondering if this is what a heart attack feels like, except it's happening in your leg? If you've experienced this, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you haven't, count yourself lucky, because nearly 60% of adults over 50 will face this terrifying moment at least once, and for 1 in 3 people over 60 it happens at least once every 2 months. Now here's something that might shock you. When that cramp strikes, you have roughly 60 seconds before the pain shifts from manageable to absolutely unbearable. 60 seconds. That's the window where the right action can save you from minutes or even hours of agony. But here's the devastating truth that most people don't know. The instinctive thing you do when a cramp hits, that natural reflex your body screams at you to do, is actually the exact wrong move that can make everything worse. Let me ask you something. Do you know which direction to flex your foot when a cramp strikes? Most people don't. They point their toes downward, following their body's natural instinct, and that single move can turn a 30-second cramp into a 10-minute nightmare. What if I told you that emergency room doctors, the ones who've seen thousands of cramp cases, have a completely different technique they use on themselves? A method so simple, so fast, that it can release even the most vicious cramp in 15 seconds flat. But before I reveal that, let me share something that might make you rethink everything you thought you knew about leg cramps. Most people believe cramps are just random bad luck, a normal part of aging, something you just have to live with. That's myth number 1, and it's completely false. The second myth, that drinking more water and eating bananas will solve the problem. And the third myth that keeps people suffering needlessly, that you should apply heat immediately when a cramp strikes. Every single one of these beliefs is not just wrong, they're keeping millions of American seniors trapped in a cycle of nighttime pain, disrupted sleep, and declining quality of life. Research published in the Journal of Primary Care shows that 55% of people with leg cramps have their sleep disturbed sometimes or often, and the average pain intensity rates 5.6 out of 10. For women over 60, the statistics are even more troubling. You're significantly more likely to experience these cramps than men, and they tend to be more severe and more frequent. So what's the secret that makes the difference between 15 seconds of relief and 15 minutes of agony? It all comes down to something called directional muscle manipulation. And there's a specific pressure point on your foot that acts like an emergency shut-off valve for cramp pain. But here's where it gets really interesting. The bathroom, that place you're probably stumbling toward when a cramp wakes you up, actually contains the perfect setup for the fastest cramp relief technique known to sports medicine. And no, I'm not talking about sitting on the toilet or soaking in the tub. Welcome back to Verum Health Podcast, where every episode helps you stay strong, independent, and sharp as you age. I'm Dr. Samuel Harrison, and I've spent over 40 years specializing in neuromuscular and geriatric medicine right here in the United States. I've treated everyone from professional athletes to grandmothers who just want to sleep through the night without being jolted awake by calf pain. And what I've learned in those 4 decades is that the difference between people who suffer with chronic cramps and people who eliminate them often comes down to knowing just 3 simple techniques that take less than 60 seconds combined. Today we're going to break down exactly what those techniques are, why they work at the cellular level, and how you can use them starting tonight. Because here's what I believe with every fiber of my being after treating thousands of patients. You should never have to choose between staying active and suffering with cramps. You should never have to fear going to bed because you know the pain is coming. And you absolutely should never have to accept cramps as just another burden of aging. But I need you to do something for me right now. If you've ever experienced a leg cramp, if you've ever been woken up by that searing pain, if you've ever had to hobble around your bedroom at 3 in the morning trying to walk it off, comment yes below this video. And if you want to make sure you never miss another episode where we share free science-backed tips that can transform your health, hit that subscribe button for Wisdom Health right now. Because what I'm about to share with you in the next few minutes could be the difference between another sleepless night and finally getting the rest your body desperately needs. The question isn't whether you'll face another cramp. For most of us over 60, statistics say it's inevitable. The real question is when it happens. Will you know the 60-second bathroom trick that stops it in its tracks, or will you be like most people doing exactly the wrong thing and making it worse? Stay tuned to discover the science behind why your muscles rebel against you in the middle of the night, and more importantly, the exact step-by-step technique that puts you back in control. Let me introduce you to someone who changed the way I think about leg cramps. Her name is Gloria Henderson. And when she first walked into my office 3 years ago, she was 64 years old, a retired high school English teacher from Atlanta, Georgia, and one of the most vibrant women I'd ever met. Gloria had taken up tennis at age 58, something she'd always wanted to do but never had time for while raising 3 kids and teaching full-time. By the time she came to see me, she was playing in local tournaments, had made dozens of friends at her tennis club, and was living proof that 64 is just a number. But there was a problem that was threatening to take it all away. For 6 months, Gloria had been experiencing leg cramps during matches. Not just mild discomfort, but cramps so severe they would drop her to the court in the middle of a rally. She described it as feeling like someone had taken a wrench and was twisting her calf muscle from the inside. The first time it happened, her doubles partner thought she was having a stroke. The second time, she had to forfeit a tournament match. By the third time, Gloria was seriously considering giving up tennis altogether. The worst part wasn't just the physical pain, though that was terrible enough. It was watching the worry on her grandchildren's faces when she had to sit out their backyard games because she was afraid a cramp would hit. It was declining invitations to go shopping with her daughter because walking through the mall had triggered cramps twice in 1 month. It was lying awake at night not because of cramps but because she was afraid of the cramps that might come. Her independence, that precious freedom she'd worked 40 years to enjoy in retirement, was slipping away one painful spasm at a time. Gloria's story isn't unique. It's the same story I hear from patients across the country week after week. Maybe you're a grandfather in Texas who can't play catch with your grandson anymore. Maybe you're a grandmother in California who stopped taking your evening walks because you're terrified a cramp will hit when you're 6 blocks from home. Maybe you're someone who used to dance or garden or simply walk through your neighborhood, and now you're planning your entire life around avoiding the next cramp. What makes this even more heartbreaking is the historical context. You're part of a generation that built modern America. You worked hard, raised families, paid your dues, and now when you finally have time to enjoy life, your own body seems to be betraying you. And here's something that particularly affects many of my Black patients, like Gloria. There's research suggesting that certain populations may experience more severe cramping, possibly related to differences in vitamin D metabolism and other factors that we're only beginning to understand. For women especially, the statistics paint a challenging picture. After menopause, hormonal changes affect how your muscles regulate electrolytes and respond to nerve signals. Combined with the natural decrease in muscle mass that happens after 60, it creates a perfect storm for cramping. Gloria told me she felt like her body had turned against her right when she was finally ready to truly live. But here's where Gloria's story takes a turn. After that first appointment, I taught her something that changed everything. I showed her the 60-second bathroom technique, the same method I'm about to share with you. I explained why her instinct to point her toes during a cramp was making everything worse. I demonstrated the exact pressure point on her foot that could interrupt the cramp signal, and I revealed the standing position that would force her locked muscles to release using her own body weight as the treatment. 3 weeks later, Gloria came back for a follow-up visit. She'd had 2 cramps during that time, once during a match and once while getting out of bed at night. Both times she used the technique I taught her. The first cramp released in 18 seconds. The second one took 23 seconds. She looked at me with tears in her eyes and said something I'll never forget. "I have my life back, Dr. Harrison." That simple phrase, "I have my life back," that's what proper cramp management can do. But Gloria's story also raises an important question, one that goes beyond individual suffering. Why are so many American seniors dealing with this? Why is it that in a country with the most advanced medical system in the world, millions of people over 60 are still waking up screaming in pain from leg cramps? The answer lies in understanding what's actually happening at the cellular level when a cramp strikes, and why the conventional wisdom you've been following might be part of the problem, not the solution. Stay tuned to discover the science behind why muscles suddenly lock up, why it happens more frequently as we age, and most importantly, why the direction you move your foot in those first critical seconds determines whether you'll suffer for 20 seconds or 20 minutes. Now let me explain exactly what's happening inside your leg when a cramp strikes, because once you understand the mechanism, the solution becomes crystal clear. When you experience a leg cramp, what you're actually feeling is an involuntary, sustained muscle contraction. Your calf muscle, or sometimes your foot or thigh, suddenly contracts and refuses to release. It's like a light switch that gets stuck in the on position, except instead of light, you're getting pure electrical nerve signals flooding into your muscle fibers with nowhere to go. Here's the fascinating part. Your muscles contract and relax thousands of times every day without you thinking about it. Every step you take, every time you stand up or sit down, your muscles are receiving signals from motor neurons telling them when to fire and when to rest. But as we age, several things change in this delicate system. First, we naturally lose muscle mass, a process called sarcopenia that begins around age 30 but accelerates significantly after 60. Second, the motor neurons themselves become less efficient at transmitting signals. And third, the balance of electrolytes that help regulate these signals, minerals like magnesium, potassium, and calcium, becomes harder for our bodies to maintain. Think of it like an orchestra. When you're younger, every instrument plays in perfect harmony. The conductor, your nervous system, gives clear signals, and every musician, your muscle fibers, responds precisely. But after 60, it's like some musicians have left the orchestra. The conductor's baton movements aren't as crisp, and the sheet music, your electrolyte balance, has some smudged notes. Most of the time, the orchestra still plays beautifully. But occasionally, especially at night when everything slows down, chaos erupts, and one section suddenly plays fortissimo when it should be silent. Research published in the journal Age and Aging in 2016 provides crucial insights into why nighttime cramps are so common in older adults. The study found that nocturnal leg cramps affect up to 33% of people over 60 and up to 50% of people over 80. Women are affected more frequently than men, particularly after menopause, when hormonal changes affect how muscles regulate calcium and magnesium. But here's where it gets really interesting, and this is what most people don't understand. When a cramp strikes, your muscle fibers are locked in what's called a tetanic contraction. The electrical signals keep firing, keep firing, keep firing without the normal relaxation phase. Your muscle is essentially stuck in a clenched fist position at the cellular level. Now here's the critical part that explains why the 60-second bathroom trick works. To release a tetanic contraction, you need to do one of three things. First, you can mechanically stretch the muscle in the opposite direction of the contraction, forcing the muscle fibers to lengthen even while they're trying to contract. Second, you can interrupt the nerve signal by stimulating specific pressure points that send competing signals to your spinal cord. Or third, you can force blood flow back into the muscle by using gravity and body weight positioning. The problem is that most people do exactly the wrong thing when a cramp hits. Let's say you get a calf cramp, which is the most common type. Your calf muscle contracts, pulling your foot into what's called plantar flexion, where your toes point downward like a ballerina. Your natural instinct is to curl your toes even more to give into the direction the muscle is pulling. But that's like trying to put out a fire by adding more fuel. You're actually reinforcing the contraction. What you need to do instead is dorsiflexion. You need to pull your toes up toward your shin, creating mechanical tension that forces the cramped muscle to lengthen. And here's the exact timing that matters. You need to hold that dorsiflexion position for at least 10 to 15 seconds to give the muscle spindles, the tiny sensors inside your muscle tissue, time to register the stretch and send inhibitory signals back to your spinal cord telling the muscle to release. But this is only half the truth. Because while dorsiflexion works, there's an even faster method that combines mechanical stretch with pressure point stimulation and gravity positioning. And that's where the bathroom comes in. When you stand up and put weight on the cramping leg, you're using your entire body weight to force the muscle to lengthen. When you lean against the bathroom wall with your heel planted firmly on the cold tile floor, you're creating maximum dorsiflexion while using gravity to drive blood flow back into the oxygen-starved muscle tissue. And when you press your thumb into the specific pressure point on the sole of your foot right in the arch, you're sending an interrupt signal through the tibial nerve that essentially hits the emergency stop button on the cramp. Studies on immediate cramp relief consistently show that stretching is the most effective first-line treatment, more effective than any medication or supplement in the acute moment. A review published in the Stat Pearls medical database confirms that passive stretching of the affected muscle group provides rapid relief, typically within 15 to 30 seconds when done correctly. But here's something that surprises most people, and it certainly surprised Gloria when I first explained it to her. The ice water foot soak that many people try actually works through a completely different mechanism than you might think. The extreme cold doesn't directly relax the muscle. Instead, it triggers what's called the cold shock response, causing rapid vasoconstriction followed by vasodilation, essentially forcing your blood vessels to squeeze and then open wide. This pumps fresh oxygenated blood into the cramped muscle and flushes out the metabolic waste products, the lactic acid and other compounds that accumulate during the tetanic contraction. And here's why heat makes it worse initially, at least in the first 60 seconds. When you apply heat to a cramping muscle, you increase metabolic activity and oxygen demand in tissue that's already oxygen-starved. It's like asking someone who's drowning to swim faster. Heat has its place later after the cramp releases to prevent recurrence. But in that critical first minute, cold is your friend. The science also reveals something important about prevention, which we'll get to in detail later. But for now, understand this: chronic leg cramps in seniors are almost never about just one thing. It's usually a perfect storm of age-related muscle loss, reduced nerve efficiency, suboptimal hydration, marginal electrolyte deficiencies, especially magnesium and potassium, certain medications, particularly diuretics and statins, and circulation changes that happen naturally as we age. But wait, because what I'm about to tell you might be the most important piece of this puzzle. Stay with me as we explore how this individual medical issue has become a public health crisis affecting millions of American seniors, and what that means for you and your family. When we step back and look at leg cramps not as an individual problem but as a public health issue, the numbers become staggering. According to data from multiple studies, including research published in primary care journals, approximately 60% of American adults over age 50 experience leg cramps. That's roughly 45 million people in the United States alone. Among those over 65, the percentage climbs even higher, reaching up to 80% in some populations. Now let me put that in perspective for you. That means if you walk into any senior center in America, any retirement community, any church congregation where the average age is over 64, out of every 5 people in that room, have experienced the searing pain of a nighttime leg cramp. 4 out of 5. And among those who suffer from cramps, more than half report that these episodes disrupt their sleep at least once a week. The ripple effects extend far beyond the immediate pain. Sleep disruption in seniors is linked to increased fall risk, cognitive decline, depression, and decreased quality of life. When you're lying awake at 3 in the morning because you're afraid another cramp might strike, or when you're walking around exhausted the next day because you've been up twice during the night dealing with leg pain, your entire health trajectory changes. Studies show that poor sleep quality in people over 60 is associated with a 40% increased risk of falls, and falls are the leading cause of injury-related deaths in American seniors. The healthcare burden is equally troubling. Millions of doctor visits every year are related to muscle cramps, and countless prescriptions are written for medications that may or may not help and that often come with their own side effects. The irony is that some of the medications commonly prescribed to seniors, medications for blood pressure, cholesterol, and osteoporosis, can actually increase the risk of leg cramps as a side effect. But here's what really breaks my heart as a physician who spent 4 decades working with older adults: the impact on independence and dignity. I've had patients tell me they stopped volunteering at their grandchild's school because they were afraid a cramp would hit while they were reading to the class. I've had patients give up dancing, give up their morning walks, give up traveling, all because they couldn't predict when a cramp would strike and they didn't know how to handle it when it did. Think about what that means on a societal level. We're talking about a generation of Americans who fought wars, built businesses, raised families, and contributed immeasurably to this country, now sitting at home afraid to participate in life because of something as seemingly simple as a leg cramp. It's not just a medical issue, it's a quality of life crisis hiding in plain sight. And here's something particularly important for the Black community and other communities of color. Research suggests that certain populations may be at higher risk for muscle cramps due to a combination of genetic factors affecting vitamin D metabolism, higher rates of certain chronic conditions like diabetes and hypertension, and potential differences in muscle fiber composition. Yet these communities often have less access to preventive care and less awareness of simple interventions that could help. The good news, and this is where our story shifts from problem to solution, is that leg cramps are one of the most preventable and treatable conditions affecting older adults. Unlike arthritis or heart disease, which require complex long-term management, leg cramps can often be eliminated or dramatically reduced through simple evidence-based strategies that cost almost nothing and can be implemented starting tonight. The key is understanding that while cramps feel sudden and random, they're actually quite predictable once you know what triggers them. And the triggers are largely within your control. Dehydration, electrolyte imbalances, muscle fatigue, poor circulation. All of these are modifiable through diet and lifestyle changes. Now we get to the part you've been waiting for. The practical solutions. The actionable steps you can take today, tonight, this very moment, to stop cramps when they strike and prevent them from happening in the first place. Everything I'm about to share with you is based on peer-reviewed research, decades of clinical experience, and results I've seen in thousands of patients like Gloria. Let's start with the 60-second bathroom technique, the immediate relief protocol that works when a cramp strikes. Here's exactly what to do step by step. The moment you feel a cramp beginning, and you'll know it, that sudden tightening sensation that turns into searing pain within seconds, you need to move fast. Don't panic, but don't wait either. Step 1. Get out of bed and stand up immediately. I know it hurts. I know your instinct is to curl up and try to massage it out. But trust me on this. Stand up. Put your full weight on the cramping leg. If it's your calf cramping, which is most common, stand with your foot flat on the floor. If you need to hold on to the wall or a chair for balance, but get weight on that leg. Step 2. While standing, pull your toes up toward your shin. This is dorsiflexion, the opposite of what your muscle is trying to do. You can reach down and pull your toes up with your hand. Or you can lean against a wall with your heel on the ground and your toes pressed against the wall baseboard. Hold this position for 15 to 20 seconds. You'll feel the stretch intensify, and then almost like magic, you'll feel the cramp begin to release. Step 3. While you're holding that dorsiflexion stretch, use your thumb to press firmly into the arch of your foot. There's a pressure point right in the center of the sole of your foot, about 1/3 of the way from your heel to your toes. Press hard for 10 seconds. This sends an interrupt signal through your nervous system that helps break the cramp cycle. Step 4. Once the cramp releases, don't immediately go back to bed. Walk around slowly for 30 to 60 seconds. This pumps blood back into the muscle and prevents an immediate recramping, which happens to about 20% of people if they don't do this walking cool down. Now here's the ice water foot soak method for stubborn cramps that don't fully release with stretching alone. Keep a small basin or bucket in your bathroom. When a cramp hits and the stretching technique only partially helps fill that basin with cold water, add some ice cubes if you have them and submerge your foot and lower calf for 30 to 45 seconds. Not longer, because you don't want to cause cold injury to your skin. The cold shock forces fresh blood flow into the muscle and usually completes the release. What about heat? Remember, heat makes cramps worse in the immediate moment. But here's when heat helps: 15 to 20 minutes after the cramp has fully released. Applying a warm compress or heating pad to the area for 10 to 15 minutes can help prevent recramping by keeping the muscle relaxed and blood flowing. Now let's talk prevention, because stopping cramps before they start is even better than having a great technique to stop them once they hit. Based on research published in multiple nutrition and geriatric medicine journals, here are the key preventive strategies. First, hydration. You need to drink enough water throughout the day, not all at once, but consistently. For most seniors, that means at least 6 to 8 8-ounce glasses of water daily. But here's the key: plain water isn't always enough. You need electrolytes too. Consider drinking coconut water, which is naturally high in potassium, or adding a small pinch of sea salt to your water. About 1/8 of a teaspoon per liter is enough to provide sodium without overdoing it. Second, magnesium. This mineral is absolutely critical for muscle relaxation, and most Americans, especially older adults, don't get enough. The best food sources are leafy greens like spinach and chard nuts, especially almonds and cashews. Seeds, particularly pumpkin seeds and whole grains. You can also take a magnesium supplement. I typically recommend 200 to 400 milligrams of magnesium glycinate or magnesium citrate before bed. These forms are better absorbed and less likely to cause digestive upset than magnesium oxide. Third, potassium. Low potassium is strongly linked to muscle cramps. Great sources include bananas, yes, but also sweet potatoes, avocados, salmon, and white beans. One medium sweet potato has about 500 milligrams of potassium. One avocado has about 700 milligrams. Your goal is around 3,000 to 3,500 milligrams per day from food sources. Fourth, calcium and vitamin D. These work together. Calcium helps muscles contract properly, and vitamin D helps your body absorb calcium and supports overall muscle function. Dairy products, fortified plant milks, leafy greens, and canned salmon with bones are excellent calcium sources. For vitamin D, your body makes it from sunlight, but many seniors don't get enough sun exposure. Consider a vitamin D3 supplement 1,000 to 2,000 international units daily, especially if you live in northern states or spend most of your time indoors. Fifth, daily stretching. This is huge. Spend 5 minutes before bed doing gentle calf stretches. Stand facing a wall, place your hands on the wall at shoulder height, step 1 foot back about 2 feet, keep that back heel on the ground and gently lean forward until you feel a stretch in your back calf. Hold for 30 seconds. Switch legs. Repeat 3 times per leg. This simple routine can reduce nighttime cramp frequency by up to 70% according to some studies. Here's a sample daily action plan you can start today. Morning, drink a glass of water with a pinch of sea salt or coconut water. Eat a breakfast that includes a good magnesium source like oatmeal with almonds. Afternoon, stay hydrated with water throughout the day. Have a potassium-rich snack like a banana or half an avocado. Evening, drink another glass of water or herbal tea 2 to 3 hours before bed, not right before, to avoid nighttime bathroom trips. Do your 5-minute calf stretching routine. Take your magnesium supplement if you're using one. Now the safety warnings, because these are critical. If you have kidney disease, you need to talk to your doctor before increasing potassium or taking magnesium supplements, because your kidneys may not be able to process these minerals properly. If you're on blood pressure medications, diuretics, or heart medications, adding electrolytes or supplements can interact with these drugs. Always consult your physician first. You should see a doctor immediately if your cramps are accompanied by severe swelling, redness, or warmth in the leg, as these could be signs of a blood clot. If your cramps are lasting more than 10 minutes, even with treatment, if they're happening multiple times every night, or if you're also experiencing muscle weakness or numbness, these could indicate a more serious underlying condition that needs medical evaluation. Here's a quick, actionable checklist you can print out or write down. Number 1, keep a basin in your bathroom for the ice water technique. Number 2, place a reminder by your bed to do your evening stretches. Number 3, buy or prepare a magnesium-rich snack for before bed. Number 4, set a phone reminder to drink water every 2 hours during the day. Number 5, schedule a medication review with your doctor to see if any of your current prescriptions might be contributing to cramps. The combination of immediate relief techniques when cramps strike plus consistent prevention strategies is what creates lasting change. Gloria's success didn't come from just one thing. It came from knowing exactly what to do in that first 60 seconds when a cramp hit, plus making small daily changes in her hydration, nutrition, and stretching routine. Within 6 weeks, her cramps went from 4 or 5 times a week to maybe once every 2 weeks. And when they did happen, they lasted 20 seconds instead of 5 minutes. Do you remember at the beginning of this episode when I described that feeling of waking up at 2 in the morning with your calf locked in a vice grip? That moment of panic when you don't know if the pain will ever stop. I want you to imagine a different scenario now. Imagine waking up to that first twinge of a cramp, but instead of panic, you feel confident. You know exactly what to do. You're out of bed in 3 seconds. Your foot is flexed toward your shin. You're pressing that pressure point. And within 15 seconds, 20 seconds at most, the cramp releases. You walk it off for a minute, go back to bed, and sleep peacefully through the rest of the night. That's not a fantasy. That's what's possible when you have the right knowledge and techniques. And it's exactly what happened for Gloria. 6 months after that first appointment where I taught her these methods, she came back to see me for a routine checkup. She walked into my office with a trophy, 3rd place in the 65 and over women's doubles division at a regional tournament. She had tears in her eyes when she handed it to me. Not because of the trophy itself, but because of what it represented. Her freedom, her independence, her joy. Here's what I've learned in 40 years of practicing medicine. The most powerful healing doesn't always come from prescriptions or procedures. Sometimes it comes from empowering people with knowledge they can use immediately to take control of their own health. That's what we've done today. We've taken a problem that affects millions of American seniors, a problem that disrupts sleep, limits activities, and diminishes quality of life, and we've given you a solution that costs nothing, requires no prescription, and works in 60 seconds or less. But knowledge without action is just information. So here's what I want you to do today, right now. First, if you don't have a small basin or bucket that you can keep in your bathroom, go get one. It doesn't have to be fancy. A small plastic tub from any dollar store works perfectly. That's your emergency ice water kit for stubborn cramps. Second, before you go to bed tonight, do the wall stretch I described. Just 5 minutes. Stand facing the wall, step 1 foot back, keep that heel down, lean forward gently until you feel the stretch in your calf. Hold for 30 seconds. Switch sides. Repeat 3 times per leg. Make this your new bedtime routine, as automatic as brushing your teeth. Third, tomorrow morning when you eat breakfast, add a magnesium-rich food. Sprinkle some almonds on your oatmeal. Have a piece of whole grain toast with almond butter. Make a smoothie with spinach and banana. Start building that foundation of proper nutrition that prevents cramps before they start. And fourth, schedule a medication review with your doctor. Print out this list of medications that can contribute to cramps: diuretics, statins, blood pressure medications, osteoporosis drugs. Ask your doctor if any of your medications might be playing a role and whether there are alternatives or dosage adjustments that could help. Here's my vision for you. 3 months from now, you're sleeping through the night. You're not afraid to take that evening walk with your spouse or friend. You're playing with your grandchildren without worrying that a cramp will sideline you. You're traveling, dancing, gardening, living your life fully because you're no longer held hostage by unpredictable muscle pain. That's not just possible, it's probable when you apply what you've learned today. The science is clear, the techniques work. The only question is whether you'll take that first step, whether you'll move from knowing what to do to actually doing it. Because here's the truth, I can give you all the information in the world, but I can't do the stretches for you. I can't drink the water for you. I can't make the dietary changes for you. That part is up to you. But here's what I can do. I can be here every week with another episode of Verum Health Podcast, bringing you more science-backed practical strategies to help you stay strong, independent, and sharp as you age. If this episode helped you, if you learned something valuable, if you feel more confident about handling cramps now than you did 45 minutes ago, show me by hitting that like button right now. That simple click tells me this content matters to you and helps other seniors find this information too. And here's my question for you. What health topic do you want me to cover next? Is it arthritis, pain management, better balance to prevent falls, natural ways to improve sleep quality, memory, and brain health strategies? Drop a comment below telling me what you want to learn about. I read every single comment, and your input directly shapes what topics we cover on this podcast. You're not just passive listeners, you're partners in this mission to help American seniors live longer, stronger, healthier lives. Make sure you subscribe to Wisdom Health and hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode. Because next week I'm going to show you the morning stretching routine that prevents cramps before they start. It takes 7 minutes, requires no equipment, and according to recent research can reduce cramp frequency by up to 80%. If you thought today's 60-second bathroom trick was powerful, wait until you see what prevention looks like. Remember Gloria and her tennis trophy. Remember that your body isn't betraying you, it's communicating with you. Those cramps are signals, not sentences. And now you have the knowledge to interpret those signals and respond effectively. You have the power to change your story from one of limitation and pain to one of freedom and confidence. So tonight when you lie down to sleep, you can rest easy knowing that if a cramp strikes, you're ready. You know the technique. You know the timing. You know exactly what to do in those critical first 60 seconds. And more importantly, you're taking the preventive steps that mean cramps will happen less and less frequently, until maybe, just maybe, they become a rare occurrence instead of a nightly fear. The next secret I share might change your life forever, just like this one has the potential to change your nights. Thank you for being here. Thank you for caring about your health enough to invest this time in learning. And thank you for being part of the Verum Health Podcast community. Until next week, stay strong, stay independent, and remember, age is just a number, but quality of life is everything.